Welcome back. You are listening to the home of forbidden romances. Prepare yourself, because tonight's story will leave you breathless. The cold steel of a plasma pistol pressed against my temple, but it was the burning, molten gold of Grand Marshal Kalen Thorne's eyes that promised a fate far worse than execution. Look at me. The command wasn't shouted. It was a low, vibrating rumble that traveled through the marble floor of the Alliance throne room, straight into my knees where I knelt in chains. The air in the vast chamber was suffocating, heavy with the scent of ozone, polished metal, and the terrified pheromones of the guards surrounding us. But cutting through it all was him, a scent like charred sandalwood and impending storms. It was the scent that had haunted my nightmares and my most shameful fantasies for 3 agonizing months. Kalen leaned forward on his obsidian throne, his gloved fingers tightening around the armrest until the leather creaked in protest. He ignored the council members gasping at the intrusion, ignored the weapons trained on my skull. He only saw me. You thought you could steal the essence of the Alliance's supreme commander, satiate your heat like a common thief, and vanish into the shadows? You underestimated my memory, little Omega, and you severely underestimated my reach. 3 months ago, I was just a ghost, Lysander, a spy for the Outer Rim separatists, tasked with infiltrating the Grand Gala of the Inner Alliance. It was supposed to be a simple data extraction. Get in, copy the fleet schematics, and get out. I was the best. I was invisible. But biology is a cruel mistress, and she doesn't care about political espionage. My suppressants had been top-grade black market tech, designed to cloak my secondary gender entirely. I was supposed to scan as a beta, but the Alliance security grid used a disruption field I hadn't anticipated. It didn't just neutralize my cloaking tech, it shattered my hormonal balance. I remember the panic rising in my throat as I hid in the VIP wing, the schematics forgotten. The heat hit me like a physical blow, a tidal wave of fever and desperate, blinding need that dropped me to the floor of a darkened guest suite. I didn't know whose room it was. I only knew that the door opened, and a presence filled the space. Massive, dominating, and terrifyingly alpha. I should have run. I should have used my hidden dagger. But when the pheromones hit me, my logic center short-circuited. It was a biological imperative, a lock finding its key. I didn't see a Grand Marshal, the Butcher of the Void. I saw a lifeline. I saw the only thing that could stop the agonizing fire in my blood. I remembered begging. I remembered the shock on his face, quickly replaced by a dark, primal hunger that mirrored my own. I remembered the rough slide of silk sheets, the friction of skin, the way he growled against my neck as he claimed me, not as an enemy, but as a creature driven by the same ancient instinct. And then, the shame of the morning after. The clarity. I had fled while he slept, hacking the security lock with trembling fingers, leaving behind nothing but the lingering scent of wild citrus and my own cowardice. I thought I was safe in the Outer Rim. I thought the galaxy was big enough to hide one rogue Omega. I asked you a question, Lysander. Kalen's voice snapped me back to the present. He stood up, and the room seemed to shrink. He was taller than I remembered, his broad shoulders encased in a military uniform adorned with medals that screamed of conquered worlds. He descended the dais steps, the heavy thud of his boots echoing like a war drum. I have nothing to say to a tyrant. I managed to rasp, though my voice betrayed me. My body was reacting to him again, a traitorous warmth pooling in my stomach despite the danger. Kalen stopped inches from me. He signaled the guards with a sharp flick of his hand. Leave us. Sir. The captain of the guard hesitated, glancing at me with disdain. He is a separatist spy. He is dangerous. He is in suppression cuffs, Kalen said, his voice dropping an octave. And if he moves a muscle to strike, I will break him myself. Get out. The doors groaned shut, sealing us in the cavernous silence of the throne room. Kalen reached down, gripping my chin in a hand that could crush steel, forcing my head up. His thumb brushed over my lower lip, rough and possessive. A spy, Kalen mused, his eyes searching mine. I tore apart 3-star systems looking for you. My intelligence officers thought I had gone mad. They said an assassin must have poisoned me, that I was hallucinating the Omega who broke into my quarters. He leaned in close, his breath ghosting over my ear. But the poison wasn't in my blood, Lysander. It was in my mind. You imprinted on me. My breath hitched. That's impossible. We didn't. The bond wasn't completed. Wasn't it? Kalen pulled back, unbuttoning the high collar of his tunic. He pulled the fabric aside to reveal the junction of his neck and shoulder. I gasped. There, stark against his pale skin, was a fading, jagged bruise. A bite mark. My bite mark. I marked you in the heat of the moment, I whispered, horror dawning on me. But an Omega cannot mark an Alpha. It fades in days. It has been 90 days, Kalen said grimly. And it burns every time you are distant. You initiated a soul link. It is rare, archaic, and inconveniently permanent. He rebuttoned his collar with sharp, angry movements. My physicians tell me that if I kill you, the neural feedback will lobotomize me. If I let you go, the separation sickness will eventually drive me into a feral rage. He grabbed the chain connecting my wrists and yanked me to my feet, bringing our chests flush against each other. The heat radiating off him was intoxicating. You have compromised the leader of the Alliance, he hissed. You have made yourself my weakness. And I do not tolerate weakness. Then kill me. I challenged, trying to find the spy, the soldier I was supposed to be. Risk the brain damage. Better that than being your prisoner. Kalen laughed, a dark, humorless sound. Prisoner? No. You aren't going to a cell, Lysander. You created this situation. You used me to survive your heat. Now, you will take responsibility. What? What does that mean? It means, Kalen said, unlocking my cuffs with a biometric override from his wrist gauntlet, that until my scientist can figure out how to sever this link without turning my brain to mush, you are not a spy. You are not a prisoner. He caught my wrist before I could rub the chafed skin. You are my consort. The word hung in the air like a guillotine blade. You're insane, I spat. The council will never accept a separatist in the palace. The Outer Rim will brand me a traitor. You're painting a target on both our backs. Let them come. Kalen's eyes flashed with a terrifying possessiveness. Let the assassins come. Let your separatist friends come. I will burn the stars out of the sky before I let anyone take what is mine. The weeks that followed were a blur of gilded cages and political warfare. Kalen moved me into his private wing, the very same suite where we had first met. It was a strategic move, he claimed. The closer we were physically, the more stable his pheromones became, and the clearer his mind was for governing the Alliance. But it was torture. I was trapped in the lion's den, surrounded by luxury I didn't earn, wearing silks that cost more than my home planet's annual budget. Every servant looked at me with veiled disgust. Every advisor whispered behind their hands. The separatist whore, they called me. The witch who bewitched the Marshal and Kalen. Kalen was an enigma. He was ruthless in the war room. I watched from the shadows as he ordered orbital strikes and crushed rebellions with a cold detachment that made my blood run cold. He was the enemy. He was everything I had fought against. But at night, the monster shed his skin. We shared a bed, not out of intimacy, but out of necessity. The soul link demanded proximity. The first few nights, I lay on the edge of the mattress, stiff and terrified, waiting for him to demand payment for sparing my life. But he never touched me. He would simply pull me against his chest, burying his face in my hair, inhaling deeply as the tension left his massive frame. Stop shaking, he murmured one night, his arm heavy over my waist. I'm not going to hurt you, Lysander. You destroyed the mining colony on Vexus 4 today, I whispered into the dark. You hurt plenty of people. Rebels who were weaponizing a civilian reactor, he countered, his voice tired. They were going to blow the planet to kill a single platoon of my men. I stopped them, by killing them first. That is the burden of command. Something a thief wouldn't understand. I'm a spy, not a thief. You stole my sanity, he grumbled, sleep blurring his words. Go to sleep, little spy. It was the small moments that began to erode my defenses. The way he knew I hated synthetic protein and ordered real fruit from the agri-worlds, despite the blockade. The way he stood between me and the sneering remarks of his generals, his mere presence silencing the room. The turning point came during the winter solstice ball. It was a mandatory event. I had to appear by his side to quell the rumors of his instability. I was dressed in a formal suit of midnight blue, the collar high to hide the mating bite that Kalen had refreshed, purely for medical reasons, he insisted, the night before. The ballroom was a sea of predators. High-ranking alphas, ambitious betas, all vying for power. I felt the hostility rolling off them in waves. Chin up, Kalen murmured, his hand resting on the small of my back. Show them you belong here. I don't belong here, I muttered, scanning the room. Old instincts flared. Kalen, the perimeter guard at the east exit. His stance is wrong. Kalen frowned, barely glancing up. Explain. He's shifting his weight to his left leg. Alliance standard protocol is feet shoulder width, weight balanced. And he's sweating. Betas don't sweat like that in climate control unless they're high on adrenaline. Kalen didn't question me. He didn't dismiss me as paranoid. He instantly stiffened, his grip on me tightening. Stay behind me. But it was too late. The guard drew a weapon, not a standard issue blaster, but a jagged, crystalline shard thrower used by the radical fanatical sect, the Purists. They hated the Alliance, but they hated the Separatists more. Seeing their leader with a filthy outer rim Omega was the catalyst they needed. Traitor, the assassin screamed, firing. Time seemed to slow. The shards were designed to shred kinetic shields. Kalen moved with supernatural speed, turning his body to shield me. No, the thought was instant. If he died, the Alliance fell. If he died, the fragile peace shattered. If he died, I would be alone. I didn't think. I lunged. I was smaller, faster. I slipped under Kalen's guard, shoving him back with a force that surprised us both. I took the impact. The shard hit my shoulder, biting deep, shattering against the bone. Pain, white-hot and blinding, exploded through my nervous system. I crumbled, the ballroom spinning wildly. Screams. Chaos. The sound of Kalen roaring. A sound so primal it shattered the crystal champagne flutes on the nearby tables. I lay on the polished floor, blood pooling under me. I watched through hazy vision as Kalen dismantled the assassin. He didn't use a weapon. He used his hands. It was brutal, efficient, and terrifying. Then he was there, kneeling beside me, his golden eyes wide with a panic I had never seen in a tyrant. You idiot, he snarled, his voice cracking as he applied pressure to my wound. His hands were shaking. Why did you do that? Tactical. Advantage. I wheezed, blood bubbling on my lips. You die? We all die? I die. Just a spy. Shut up, he growled, gathering me into his arms. He stood up, barking orders at the frozen medical team. If he dies, I will execute every single one of you. Move. As darkness took me, the last thing I felt was Kalen's forehead pressed against mine and the wet slide of a tear on my cheek. Waking up was a slow, painful process. My shoulder felt like it had been reconstructed with fire. I blinked open my eyes to see the sterile white ceiling of the med bay, but the air smelled of sandalwood and distressed alpha. Kalen was sitting in a chair beside the bed, asleep. He looked terrible. His uniform was rumpled, his jaw unshaven, dark circles bruising the skin under his eyes. He was holding my hand. I shifted slightly, and his eyes snapped open instantly. The gold was dim, exhausted. You're awake, he breathed. I'm alive, I corrected, my voice raspy. Barely. He squeezed my hand, careful not to crush it. The shard was poisoned. It took the bioweavers 12 hours to filter your blood. You've been out for 3 days. 3 days. I tried to sit up, but he pushed me back down gently. Why? He asked, the question heavy in the quiet room. You could have let the shard hit me. You could have been free. With the soul link broken by my death, you could have escaped into chaos. I looked at him. Really looked at him. I saw the fear behind the arrogance. I saw the loneliness of a man who held the galaxy on his shoulders, but had no one to hold him. I told you, I said softly. Tactical advantage. Liar, Kalen whispered. He leaned forward, resting his forehead against the mattress near my hand. You stayed because of the bond. Maybe, I admitted. Or maybe I realized that the Alliance leader isn't the monster the separatist propaganda paints him to be. Kalen looked up, a wry, tired smile touching his lips. I am a monster, Lysander. I slaughtered the assassin's entire cell while you slept. I made them scream for touching you. I know. And you still stay? I reached out, my fingers trembling as I brushed a lock of dark hair from his forehead. The electricity of the touch sparked between us, not the painful burn of the forced bond, but something warmer. Something real. I'm tired of running, Kalen. And my heat is due in a week. Kalen's eyes darkened, the gold flaring to life with renewed intensity. The predator was back, but the malice was gone, replaced by a devotion that terrified me more than his rage ever had. Then you had better heal quickly, Kalen growled low in his throat, turning his face to kiss the palm of my hand. Because this time, I intend to be fully conscious when I claim you. No drugs. No mistakes. Just us. Is that a demand, Grand Marshal? No, he said, meeting my gaze with a raw vulnerability that stole the air from my lungs. It is a request. Stay with me, Lysander. Not as a prisoner. Not as a spy. But as my partner. Rule this wretched galaxy by my side. I looked at the hand holding mine. The hand that could crush planets, now cradling me like precious glass. I thought of the cold, lonely void of the outer rim. And then I looked at the fire in his eyes. I suppose, I whispered, pulling him down for a kiss that tasted of iron and promise. Someone has to keep you in line. And that is how the viper tamed the wolf. If you enjoyed seeing Lysander take control of the galaxy's most dangerous man, destroy that like button. And tell me in the comments, would you forgive a husband who held the fate of the galaxy over your head just to keep you close? I'll be reading your answers. Subscribe for the next chapter. Until then,